Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm
How
Doug.
are you all doing
Now we're talking
today?
to each other again. We're so
What?
bad. We're so bad at intros.
What did we do wrong?
We talked over each other like we do every single time.
Oh,
God damn it.
okay. Well, anyway, my name is Doug,
My name is Kane.
and we are the Wolf Toast Podcast. Thank you all for joining us on this. Well, I don't know how everybody else's weather is, but the weather over here is pretty crap. How about you, Doug?
It's pretty crap. It's like 40 degrees.
Yeah, well, it's just rainy over here, which I actually like the rain, so I'm enjoying myself. But what is our topic today?
Our topic today is history, which is very broad.
Why? No, that's kind of sexist. His story. Why can't it be her story?
You're right. It certainly should be her story, or his story, or anybody's story that you.
Let's just
want
call
to
it
be.
Z story.
Z story.
Yeah, isn't that what they want to be called?
That sounds like a JRPG.
Like XI.
Oh yeah.
Is Trump playing into Z's hands? That's the first thing that popped up when I typed Z.
Speaking of which, Trump and Biden want to fight each other, which is great.
Apparently, I think Trump would win.
Uh,
He would take off his wig and throw it in his face at high volume speeds.
Is a physical fight between two old people? Does it even matter who wins?
They just tire each other out eventually.
They both fucking die.
Okay. Oh my god. Anyway, history.
Yeah.
History is the topic today. I wanted to start our history talk today with my personal favorite history event or historic event, which is World War II.
Yeah.
World War II. I don't know why. It's just I love studying that. I remember I took a World War II class once, and I didn't even study. I didn't study for anything. I just took the exams without looking at any of my notes, and I just passed with like an A+ in the class.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. That kind of stuff tends to stick in your mind. You know, it's all super interesting, especially wars.
Oh yeah, like there was some crazy shit that happened in World War II, all the way from the Nazis, all the way to the battles that took place, and all the way back to the Nazis again with their experiments that we talked about last episode, and it was a crazy time. Like look at what was that one guy's name? There was that British soldier who only fought with a sword.
Yep. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he ran into battle with a claymore, and yeah, German soldiers were like, "What?" And he lived.
Yeah, and he got captured too, and he walked out he got put in a fucking concentration camp, and he walked out the front doors.
Yep. Yep.
I wouldn't fucking be surprised if he got his sword on his way out too.
And he said that he missed the war and he thought that it was over too soon or something like that.
Fucking
crazy.
Absolute fucking madman. Guy's just like after the war ended, he's in his dark apartment drinking out of a fucking contraband booze bottle, sharpening his claymore with a fucking dirty tank top on.
Yeah, there's that great scene from Apocalypse Now about who was it, like Captain Kill or Sergeant Kilgore or whoever, the I love the smell of napalm in the morning guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Martin Sheen's character says about him, he's the kind of guy where you could tell that he was going to get out of the war without a scratch on him.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that guy did too. The fucking
probably
the crazy Brit bong.
Yeah.
But you could look at other different historical events that took place, and they're just as crazy. Like I believe there was a story about this soldier, and he was like this little wimpy wimp, and he'd always got made fun of. But like he had one friend or something like that. He had a couple friends, and they always like took care of him. And there was a firefight going on.
Yep.
And basically, this guy's a wimp. He's cuddled up in like a ditch he dug, and while his friends are fighting, and he's just like having a panic attack. And all of a sudden, he just watches all of his friends get shot to shit, like turned into Swiss cheese, right in front of him. And he like had this, like, you would probably imagine like a movie where there's just a moment of him just staring, watching his friends just drop.
Yeah.
This dude gets up, turns into full nerd rage mode.
Oh no.
He rushes an enemy tank, jumps up onto it, kills the fucking dude who's, opens up the hatch, kills the dude piloting the fucking tank, gets inside of it and makes it do a 180, and he just starts firing backwards onto the German soldiers with their own fucking tank. And he won. He killed like fucking 200 people that day.
Jeez.
And he came out alive.
Oh man.
This is a fucking fucked up time. You think about those people who survived that war and what, the fucking shell shock they might have endured.
Yeah.
What are your favorite memorable moments of World War II?
Oh, man. I think as awful as it is, it's always really fascinating because I read the book Hiroshima. And it's always really fascinating to read about the atomic bombs and the effects and the aftermath on the cities that they were dropped on, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
Like the decision-making process and all of that went into dropping. I think one of the most interesting facts, because that's a lot of the interesting bits about history get boiled down to like little tidbits, is that Truman, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he only took like 8 minutes to decide whether or not he wanted to drop it.
Jesus.
Crazy.
That's such a fucking... that's a big decision.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to make that decision. I probably would, knowing me, but still, it's a hard decision to make.
Oh, yeah, and for Truman, too, because like he kind of came in on the end of it. Like, FDR was the president throughout the entire war, and then Truman just came in and he's like, well, now I got to decide whether or not I want to bomb, 500,000 people.
Oh, man.
However many it was.
I like the reenactment they did for when they were showing how they dropped the bomb.
Yeah.
It was like a CGI reenactment of the bomb dropping, and it shows the pilots looking outside the window with their goggles on, and their jaws just drop when they see this thing goes off, and that's probably what happened. Just seeing, because they were told. I remember the people who flew the Enola Gay. Yeah, they had no idea what was on board. They just knew they were dropping bombs.
Right.
That's what they were told. Drop this over this area. Right. Okay, so they drop it, and they were told to wear special gear, so they're like, whatever. So when they drop that shit, they're expecting like little, carpet bomb explosion or something. Nope. They just see this massive fireball form.
Yeah, there was no frame of reference really either, because all of the tests that had been done to that point were done in secret. So you're not only seeing it up close, but you're also seeing something that seems impossible, that nobody has seen really before. Nobody, if you want to say like a normal person who's not a scientist, has seen. It's kind of insane.
It's probably blow your goddamn mind. Like probably for the people who dropped, what was it, the Tsar Bomba?
Yeah, right.
Oh, Jesus. That was, for those of you who don't know, the Tsar Bomba was a Russian, was it hydrogen or atomic?
I think hydrogen.
Hydrogen bomb.
Yeah.
The largest ever detonated on Earth. Basically, you take the mushroom cloud form from Hiroshima, and it's like 1/100th the size of the mushroom cloud that the Tsar Bomba formed. It actually blew a crater into the Earth.
Yeah.
They had to do it way, way, way away from civilization, for one. Two, they had to strap a parachute to the bomb so it would fall slower so the pilots of the plane could get out of there in time, which they barely did. There was still a shockwave that like shook the plane and like nearly knocked it out of the sky.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The amount of power and science that went on during World War II. The Tsar Bomba was more Cold War era, but it's still history, so that's what we're talking about. We'll probably go all the way back to fucking caveman talk. This is going to be a good episode. I got fried rice on the way.
I got beer.
I don't have beer. I have Arizona iced tea and coffee that I'm drinking out of my Overwatch coffee cup. Because I'm a fucking loser.
Yeah, as this podcast goes on, I'm going to continue to get a little more and more inarticulate, so have fun with that. Me ranting. You don't understand, okay? You don't understand. It wasn't the Romans' fault.
Doug's over here smoking cigarettes. He's got that like, what's it called? Those pictures with like the wires attached to different things in the background.
I'm Charlie Day, Pepe Sylvia.
Yes. All right, man. Another notable thing. Beaches at Normandy, D-Day.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
What is it still? Is it still the largest
Wouldn't doubt it.
land invasion?
Would not doubt it. That is fucking massive. If you guys look right now, we're still trying to figure out how to pull up pictures, but if you look up, let me see. It's like Normandy. D-Day aftermath. After the Americans finally landed and took control, you look at the amount of fucking shit that they brought. Yeah, here it is. I'll say put D-Day aftermath in Google Images, and it's like the fourth image over. You see all these blimps. Like there's.
Oh, I see that.
I can't even count how many trucks and tanks and battleships on the shores.
Nuts.
It's ridiculous the amount of people there, but the amount of people that died as well was just as bad.
Yep.
I mean, if anybody's ever seen what's it called, Saving Private Ryan, that was fucking terrible.
That's probably the best film rendition of that's ever gonna be.
It's just crazy to think about how these fucking poor guys, 18 years old, some of them, are just going in there and being told you probably are gonna die today.
Yeah.
And just jumping out of that shit. And some of them, they would the what were they called? Not U-boats. They were those boats with the hatches that open up in the front.
Oh, I don't remember what they're called exactly, but yeah.
Well, as soon as that thing would open up, the entire inside would just be lit up with fucking lead.
Yep.
It was just fucking sad, man. And aren't there parts of the beach that still have those barricades?
I'm sure there are. These
Man.
things tend to last forever. Like obviously, there's still like hundreds of thousands of active mines in the Eastern Europe from the aftermath of the Yugoslav wars and all the other conflicts.
Mm-hmm. Isn't there? Don't we have bombs missing too, like nuclear bombs?
Oh yeah, I think there are some that are unaccounted for.
That's fucking ridiculous.
In addition to nuclear material from reactors, spent fuel rods, things like that. Yeah. And a lot of facilities are notoriously under-equipped, so we're facing a crisis when it comes to dealing with nuclear material.
Oh, this is really cool. I put Omaha Beach today, and that same photo with all the blimps I showed you, they have that photo, and it's tinted, like the opacity is turned down over the current picture of that.
Oh, wow.
That beach. That looks really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
They're doing like side-by-side pictures. That's cool. Comparison. It doesn't look like there's any of there's a memorial, but it doesn't look like there's any any of the barricades.
I don't know about you, but I love that like recolorization of old pictures.
Mm-hmm. I
love
like that.
It was a thing that started in earnest seriousness where it actually looked good and accurate probably about 10 years ago or so, and they've just been getting better and better at it. It's kind of neat to see these people that existed before color cameras in color.
I remember when I was in high school, they had the thing on, I think it was like the History Channel. They had World War II in color.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I totally watched that.
They would watch, put the new episodes out every week.
Back when the History Channel was halfway decent.
Yeah. I remember I'd get home from school and be like, oh, it's on tonight. World War II in color's on tonight.
Yeah.
Get so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. These are some badass pictures. 1 mile wide. They had to run 300 yards. It was 300 yards from the shoreline to the. What the fuck is my brother doing? What an idiot. 300 yards to the front.
Yeah.
Oh no! Wait, what is this? 300 yards to that, and then there was another 400 yards to the platform. From the platform to the beach. Okay, so it's 400 yards. Or plus 300 yards that they had to run across the beach.
So 700.
Yeah, total to get from the edge of the water to the actual towers shooting at them.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. Just imagine having to run through that
It's
shit.
about half a mile, a little less than half a mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have to run that while getting gunned down.
Jeez.
I wonder how many. Wasn't that the bloodiest battle of World War II?
I don't remember.
Um, died in D-Day or on D-Day. I don't want images. 425,000 Allied and German troops were killed.
Jeez.
There was 209,000 Allied casualties. That's ridiculous. That's almost half a million people died that day.
Get this: the deadliest World War II battle was the Battle of Stalingrad,
Ooh.
which had an estimated 1,250,000 to 1,798,000 casualties. That's insane.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that. The Battle of Stalingrad. Wait, yeah. Okay, so basically, to sum this up for people who don't know, it was a battle between the Germans and the Russians, right?
Yeah.
There was a bulge in the map of owned territory.
That's different. You're talking about the Battle of the Bulge.
Okay. Wait, no. It's not the bulge. It's okay, type in Battle of Stalingrad map, right?
Okay.
Now, do you see there's a little dip out around Stalingrad?
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah,
two bulges.
Yeah. But basically the Germans' problem was they needed to close that gap. But the only problem is the Russians had miles and miles of just anti-air, cannons. They had, what else did they have? They had just watchtowers, walls. They just had so much shit built.
More soldiers too.
Yeah.
Just disposable people, essentially. That's always been Russia's strategy.
Just fucking overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened though was, so basically Russia or the Germans pushed in, right?
Yeah.
Russians were not given. They're like, this is ours. Go away. This is my land. You get off. And eventually, long story short, the Russians were taking so many casualties, and they lost so many people. Plus, they started running out of fucking ammo.
Oh, jeez.
What some of the Russians did as the Germans were advancing were the Russians were throwing their guns down and just climbing out of the trenches and just charging the German soldiers head on.
Yeah.
Armed with nothing but knives. Can you imagine just a wall of Russians charging at you? And they won. The Russians won that battle.
Yeah.
With no ammo.
It was Hitler's failed Eastern Front push, essentially. He underestimated Russia, which is the same thing Napoleon had done 200 years before.
Well, you were talking about the numbers.
Yeah.
That's how they won. They just kept sending wave after wave after wave of just, pretty much bullet sponges.
Yeah.
And eventually they won.
Yeah. They did that in World War I, too, which is kind of interesting because it was really only 20 years before. That just tells you how many people were involved in this,
How many people died during Stalingrad again? 800,000 dead?
Just the Russians had over 1 million casualties.
Yeah, I remember that.
A total of about 1,700,000 on the high end.
That's crazy. 1 million people dead one day.
Yep.
Or it was over a span of a couple days, but still. 1 million fucking people. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. In World War I, casualties total 41 million.
Jesus Christ.
That's deaths and injuries. So 18 million deaths, 23 million wounded.
18 million people.
And that was just 20 years before World War II.
Mm-hmm. And there was more in World War II, wasn't there?
I'm not sure. Let's see. World War II.
World War II had a lot of deaths.
World War II had... it's kind of... See, World War II is kind of tricky because there was the Holocaust. So you have 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of others that were killed in concentration camps. But the estimates are anywhere from 50 to 80 million.
Christ.
Yep. Civilians, it's just civilians, 50 to 55 million. So that's more civilian deaths than soldier deaths.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, because you think about the fucking Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was 500,000 people right there, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. Well, Hiroshima, I believe, was somewhere around 300,000. Nagasaki was lower, I think 80-something thousand.
Well, yeah, almost 500,000 people
Yeah.
from 2 bombs. Oh man,
People and their shit, people and their propensity to kill each other over nothing. It's a
well, as
little
long as
ridiculous.
there's man, there's gonna be war.
Yeah.
Just because we have greed.
Hopefully,
Um,
world wars with millions of people dead are a thing of the past.
oh, I don't really think so.
I don't know. I mean, you look at the most recent war, the Iraq War,
Hmm.
which had a lot of casualties, but obviously much fewer than
Yeah, but think about it. How much more time do we have left on this earth? If nothing really bad happens down here on the surface, like
Yeah.
say like a massive nuclear war or a plague or something, we could essentially be on this earth for another couple 100 million years. Uh, maybe not that much, but a
Well,
million
before
years.
like the sun starts to make things
Yeah,
problematic. Yeah, sure.
I would say okay, say even just 20,000 years or
Okay.
something like that. Just throw a random number out there. That's 20,000 isn't too crazy. Um, think about it. All that time, you don't think there's going to be a war, another world war, where everybody's just at each other's throats?
I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I mean,
It's been happening.
part of the problem was technology. I mean, especially advancements in medical technology have made it so that people who are injured in war can survive better. Also,
Mhm.
advancements in military gear, like the stuff that they wear, is more protective.
Yeah,
You know,
but I don't think. I think there will be another world war someday, or even thousands of years in the future, wars with fucking aliens.
well, yeah,
Come
it's kind of hard
down.
to say the because right now the United States is obviously such a ridiculous military superpower that there's basically no fighting the U.S.
Well,
anymore. Not in a one-on-one battle like there
other
was.
superpowers could.
I guess if they banded
Like,
together, but I don't think any of them
you don't
really.
think if we just us and Russia went to war with each other that it would be an equal battle?
No, it wouldn't. We would completely annihilate them. Look at the number of aircraft
Why?
carriers we have as opposed to them. Look at the number of jets and other things that we have as opposed to them. They may have, I don't know if they have a larger standing military than us, but it doesn't fucking matter. We have
What
the
about
technology.
Chinese? The
I don't
Chinese?
I don't think China would side with Russia in a
No,
war.
I mean like if China went to war with us.
China obviously has a larger standing military, but again, they have nowhere near the amount of aircraft carriers and hardware that we have. That's what
So what
wins
if they
wars
don't have
nowadays.
aircraft
That's
carriers?
what wins wars nowadays. I mean, look at Gulf War. The Gulf War was considered the first modern war, where almost all of it was long range, fought with missiles.
That's kind of sad,
Yeah, it kind of
honestly.
is. I mean, can you imagine? Like PTSD is bad enough normally, but now you're just in charge of a computer. Potentially, one person being able to kill many more people has got to be rough.
And I mean, like, it's kind of also sad, as fucked up as this sounds, but traditional wars are pretty much over, you know? Everything's fought
Are you
online,
are you
everything.
nostalgic for traditional wars?
Yeah, I
Back
mean,
in my day,
if you're gonna have a fucking battle over
God,
something, don't just sit behind computers and press buttons. Like, get your ass out there and fucking fight for it.
I guess.
I don't know. Like, it just, I don't know. There's no way I could put it that doesn't sound fucked up.
It is kind of, I get it. There is kind of an interesting cynicism to the idea that war has basically become digitized. That is,
Yeah, just the
the
idea of boots on the ground is
the
what I miss.
meaning behind the idea of taking a life in the name of your country, whether you agree with it or not, seems to have been reduced to something else. Especially
Hmm.
now with people, there's a lot of people out there that you'll find on Facebook who will not shy away from saying, well, let's just nuke the Middle East, And it's like, okay, the implications of a statement like that mean less nowadays because you can indeed kill millions of people without even being there, as opposed to back in the day when
When you
it
had
was,
to fucking
yeah,
drop in.
it's a little different.
Well, the reason I say I wish we would just stick with old war is because, you know, look at us sitting here for the past almost half an hour now just talking about battles that took place in World War II. Yeah, they were gruesome,
Right.
but it's just like there's some badass parts about these planes flying in and these big battleships shooting at each other and
I suppose if
fucking.
you survive it, it's definitely a story to be able to tell, huh?
Well, yeah, I'm not glorifying the death or
Yeah.
anything. I'm just saying the actual. Why do you think war movies are so people? Oh, that's fucking badass. You see like fucking tanks getting blown up and shit flying everywhere.
Yeah. Sure.
Now it's we're approaching the part where it's just like one button push. Like that's oh, you
Yeah.
see that new war movie that's coming out? And it's like 30 seconds of a guy pressing a button and just a city exploding.
Yeah.
Little white flag comes out from the rubble.
It's kind of hard to make movies about modern war. Like, you know, they made that Brad Pitt movie War Machine on
Yeah.
Netflix. I watched it. I didn't really care for it. I thought it was
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
stale.
modern war movies are just kind of like, eh. But if you look at like a fucking World War II movie,
Yeah.
people are like on the edge of their seats. You're watching that shit, you
Yeah.
know, the old. I guess it's just because I'm a huge sucker for like the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I would cut my hair like they do back then. I listen to the music they listen to. I just wish if they said, Kane, you can be alive in one section of history. What do you want to be alive in? I'd be like, I'd pick probably being born in the 30s or the 20s so I can grow up and live my 20s and the 40s.
And fight in World War II, huh?
Yes. Dude, I'd fucking fight in World War II. I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah. I think Vietnam. I'm obsessed with the Vietnam era, and
Vietnam's a fucking bloodbath.
I love the movies. The Vietnam movies are great because
Oh,
they
yeah.
are more of a psychological statement. I think.
Hmm.
Obviously.
So let's
Let's switch off of
rewind.
war because I don't
Yeah,
want this
we're-
entire thing to be
the
the
war
History Channel
podcast.
circa 2008.
Let's go back. Let's rewind to the era of kind of like Django and the Hateful Eight.
Oh, so
Like,
like the late
late-
1800s.
Yeah, late 1800s. Let's rewind a couple years back to then.
Okay.
Those were some cool times too. You know, minus the racism and slavery.
Those were some cool times if you were white.
That was back when this country was great.
Wah, wah.
Who's that stumbling around in the dark? Oh, I love those movies.
Make
But
America 1800s again, apparently, is the sentiment.
All right, everybody's gonna get fucking polio. And
Oh, God.
what was the problem back then? Was it polio?
I don't think so. Well, polio, yeah, was an issue up until polio vaccines, which was like in the 40s, maybe? Or 50s?
There was just those times were bad because like everybody was-
Dysentery. You died from dysentery.
Dysentery.
Oregon Trail. There you go. Well, that's more. That's not late 1800s. That's early 1800s, like the gold rush.
Yes. Well, let's stick in 1800s in general.
Okay.
Those are some bad times. If you think about it, like anytime I think of like 1800s, I think of some fucking hick missing half of his teeth and he's dying of some disease at age 30.
The problem with the 1800s was that it was the center of the Industrial Revolution. So you have the early 1800s, which were basically garbage. You know, everyone was like, it was, you know, people were basically living on dirt. And then you have the mid 1800s where if you were in the North in the United States or if you were in Europe in certain parts of it, you would be experiencing a huge boom in quality of life. Whereas the South didn't get as much of that. Which is kind of what led in part to the Civil War because their society was a farming society that not at first, but then later on when the cotton gin was invented, ended up relying on slave labor because they had no technological, no industrial infrastructure like the North had. You know?
Yeah.
They couldn't have the railroads and all this stuff. So there was a real danger of them, you know, they didn't want to give up slavery as immoral as slavery was because they refused to adapt. And so your comparison of a hick with missing teeth dying of a disease in his 30s is pretty accurate for what the South was like in the 1800s.
You hear about Jimmy? Yeah, he got crushed by a boulder. Like it's just like I feel like those times were just so fucking terrible to be in.
Yeah.
Sure. Like I just feel like it was dirty, just nasty fucking people. Basically hobos with houses.
Hobos with houses.
That's the best way I can
Yeah.
I don't know.
We
It's
romanticize the West and cowboys.
but it was actually pretty fucking ugly.
Yeah, the lawlessness of the Wild West, as it were, which is different from the South. Which is kind of interesting because you brought up Django Unchained, which is a movie which is sort of like a badass cowboy shootout movie that does not take place in the West. It takes place in the
Yes.
Deep South, which is kind of an interesting change to the formula. You're used to like the Sierra Leone crap, a fistful of dollars, Clint Eastwood kind of stuff, which is Western mining towns that have no real way to enforce criminal acts because you just got like one sheriff, who's
Yeah.
pretty much responsible for being the law man.
I like how you could just walk around and shoot people back then.
Oh God.
Like, what's his? Christoph Waltz. I love
He
Christoph
plays
Waltz.
a bounty hunter who is legally allowed by the courts to seek out and kill criminals, which kind of tells you about the state of the laws then. They literally could not enforce crime in a way that was, like they would up north or east, where they would, give people a fair trial. Instead, they'd say, wanted dead or alive, it's not worth it to us to deal with these people because we don't have a system in place. So just kill them.
Yeah, that would be cool. Like, I would totally do that. Like, I would. People listening are gonna think I'm some fucking psychopath. But I'm just saying, if like, I wish that shit was real again. Like, you're given a court order to hunt down and just basically gun somebody down in the street.
Jeez.
And dead or alive, that's the cool thing. You get to choose. And,
Wanted.
but anyway, the Christoph Waltz, he's in the bar, and the guy, he brings Django into the bar, and the guy at the bar is just like, "Oh, get that N-word out of here." And he's like, "Oh, well, I mean, if you want to go get the sheriff, go get the sheriff." Yeah. So the guy runs out and
make sure you bring the sheriff, not the marshal.
Oh, yeah. And I guess Christoph Waltz was looking for the sheriff.
Yeah.
And sheriff comes up, "All right, come on out." And he just, guns him down or whatever.
Yeah.
And he shows the other guy, he's like, "I have a paper right here from Texas or whatever.
Yeah.
It says I'm illegally allowed to kill this man dead or bring this man in dead or alive." And he's like, "All right, go on and get out of here." Just like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting statement about vigilantism and frontier justice, as it were.
But back then, due to all of that, just free killing with barely any result, the life expectancy of people is like 30, 40 years old.
Well, the life expectancy stuff was actually kind of misleading. The reason those statistics are skewed so much and why it seems like you see a lot of people who appear to be older, even though the life expectancy is lower, is because of child mortality rates. It was a huge likelihood that you would either die while being born or that you would die of a disease before you were old enough for your immune system to develop fully. However, if you made it to age 18, I believe your chances were very good to make it to at least 60.
Yeah.
So the statistics are a little off. It's kind of misleading. People weren't considered old at 30.
I don't know. And even look at the fucking medical system back then.
Yeah. There basically wasn't one.
I forgot where I saw this. I saw a funny picture, and it was like, man, being a doctor back in the 1800s must have been nice. Yeah. It's just like, here, I'm going to give you some cocaine to get rid of the ghosts in your blood.
There was a bit of an understanding, but not enough of a widespread understanding of the idea of microbes causing disease and spreading filth. So the idea of having a clean room or cleaning your instruments, not cross-contaminating blood with other patients, was not really a thing that was done. So most of the time, it wouldn't really be the injury that would kill you, it would be the infection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's even on the battlefield. Look at how they treated battlefield, on the battlefield, injuries.
Yep.
Here, take some whiskey. I'm going to fucking sew up your leg.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's got ghosts. You got ghosts in your blood.
It's kind of funny that our discussions of history always tend to gravitate toward violence, and it's not really something that we can help, because history, until very recently, kind of was just violence.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a whole lot to history that isn't humans killing each other or something. There are brief periods of it, but they tend to disappear. I suppose you could consider ancient Greece and or some of the Renaissance periods of Italy to be periods of relative peace, where there were some skirmishes here and there, but it was mostly about the learning and the advancements. pick any other period in history, and it's gonna be about whatever war was happening.
Yeah.
If you talk
It
about
was
the mid to late 1700s, there is no discussion of that time that does not involve the Revolutionary War and the birth of America. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Even people in other countries that are not the United States, when they're learning about the 1800s, study the American Civil War. You know?
I mean, look at back in that era from like the 1700s to the 1800s. There was the fucking French Revolution. There's the fucking Civil War. There's all this shit going on all the fucking time.
The French Revolution is kind of fascinating. The idea of they were trying to mimic what happened in the United States, but it ended up kind of getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then Napoleon ruled the country for like 10 years or something, and then he got ousted, and then he came back and did it again.
It's me. Oh no, it's you, not again.
I mean, could you imagine? Like, the guy was literally captured and like left for dead on like a prison island. And then some guy that was sympathetic to his cause basically rescued him, and then he just took over the country again. Like, how do you do that? How do you go from being ousted and then getting back into the country and going, well, time to rule the country again? I just want to know how you get to the point where you're like, I know exactly what to do to be the ruler of this country.
It's fucking cool to think about. He just kind of strolls back in.
He was like, he was in his fucking 20s. Like, jeez, what the fuck have we done?
We just sit around on a podcast and drink and eat Doritos while playing video games.
We've gone
Hey,
soft.
I may not be able to fucking take over a country, but I'll fucking place like third or second place in Fortnite.
Repeatedly placed third and second place with me, and then we all get frustrated at how we can't get first place because we're bad.
Oh my god, my neighbor's so fucking lucky right now.
They're what?
My neighbor is super fucking lucky right now.
Why? What are they doing?
There's Domino's delivery at their house.
Nice.
Oh, fucking jealous.
Solid pizza.
Solid pizza. That doesn't sound very good.
No, I mean solid as in quality.
Solid. Just fucking take it out. And beat
Yeah,
someone
here's
with
your
it.
solid pizza. We kept it in the oven for 30 minutes.
At full heat, just black. It's a black disc. It looks like some sort of fucking encrypted tablet from ancient Egypt.
It's a piece of the thing from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the monolith.
Just crusty monolith. Oh god. Is
What
there
a great
anything
movie.
else noting fucking 1800s though? Besides dirty disgustingness of it. A lot happened. There was the invention of like what, the fucking cell phone.
Statements that make you go, No, the 1800s, like I said, was the site of the Industrial Revolution. So that's when industry, coal production, steel things really started taking off.
You know what's fucked up is the fucking child workers, the amount of child workers.
The amount that still exists today is fucked up.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking these kids were fucking like
Yeah.
smelting metal and
Yeah,
like
covered in soot and shit. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
At least they make their quarter a day. Like
Yeah.
fucking, oh, I made me my 3 cents today. Time to go home.
If there's an argument for regulations in workplace conditions, then that's one.
Yeah.
People tend to forget that the only reason that their fucking shampoo is $1 at Meijer's is because it was produced in a sweatshop in China. It's baffling. Every single company pretty much does that, with the exception of a few. But come on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand though. Like, I get having kids work. Like, fine. You want a kid to work? Okay, well, make sure he's taken care of though. Like, make sure he's making the minimum wage.
I have no problem with a kid contributing to society in a way that's appropriate for their age.
Yes. In a warehouse or workshop, no. Maybe like at a fucking grocery store, putting shit on the shelves. You mean that'd be
or even being a fucking greeter or something. Like,
yeah, like
on.
a host at a restaurant.
Yeah.
My fucking my job. You know, if the host is missing, the granddaughter of one of the owners, because they hang out there all the time, she'll come up and she'll seat.
Yeah.
You know, right this way. She's like a little adorable little squirt, and she just come on, And then the people at the door are like, okay, and they're just laughing. It's cute, you know. That's not a problem. But when
Yeah.
it's to operating heavy machinery and like, it's not something that a kid should be doing.
Yeah, certainly.
Even if you go to like those Chinese restaurants, I remember there was a Chinese restaurant. I don't know if I ever took you there. It was really good. It's over by I can't even fucking remember. But anyway,
Oriental buffet.
no. It was family owned, and I remember me and my parents would go there all the time, and the lady that owned it, she would get so happy. Her name was Sue, and she would always get so happy, and she always had her kids there because she was always working.
Oh.
And the kids would be doing their homework, they'd be coloring or whatever, and
Sure.
they would bring our food to us. The kids would.
Yeah.
And you know, they were kind of awkward when they did it, but I was just like, all right, that's cool. You know, they're helping their mom out.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. This isn't really historic talk.
That's interesting.
Talking about sweatshops.
Yeah.
How far do you want to go back next? Spin the fucking wheel.
I'm kind of trying to stay away from History Channel fanfare, like the pyramids. Did aliens build the pyramids?
The aliens.
According to this, the pyramids were each stone was cut and placed in 8 seconds, and it's like, yeah, okay, or the guy that was in charge of building this thing 5,000 years ago lied about how long it took so that he would look better.
Yeah. I mean, look at North Korea right now. Apparently, hold on. I need to look this up so I'm not saying anything false.
They're bullshit statistics about how well they're doing.
No. Let's see. I don't know how to word this. What society is told about Kim?
Yeah. That he was like born on a meteor or something stupid like that.
He's born on a propaganda in North Korea.
Oh no.
I can't find it, but basically, like, I know one for a fact. They say that he doesn't poop.
Oh yes.
Like, he doesn't have an asshole or something. Another one's just like he gets like perfect golf scores. Like he was like born under the moon or something like that. I don't fucking know.
It's incredible. North Korea has accomplished as much as they have in being a propaganda machine because they're kind of unique in that they are basically they are off the grid, quite literally. They have managed to insulate an entire country from the internet, from radio, from television, through heavily regulated products that they give to their citizens. Like they have jammers or whatever it is installed in their radios and televisions so that they cannot access outside programming. It is illegal to tamper with, obviously. People have done it. But the interesting thing, the interesting and shitty thing about North Korea is that if you look at a map of it for internet access, there's a little dot right there in Pyongyang, the capital, and you know that that's Kim Jong-un playing World of Warcraft or whatever, or emailing Hillary Clinton.
Oh man, I fucking love.
What a joke! What a bad joke. However, they are. I suppose you could consider them to be sovereign, and they would probably be pretty stupid to invade them.
I can't find anything on it. I wish I could, because some of those things that they tell the people about their leader is hilarious.
Yes.
But anyway, going back to let's I don't know, how far do you want to go back?
I don't know, man.
I don't want to be like.
That's the problem with such a broad topic.
Yeah, we could just kind of go wherever we want with this. Like, let's see. Well, yeah, let's talk about the pyramids actually.
Oh.
Not too long, but you know, it just goes to show you how long slavery reaches back.
Right. Yeah, the use of slave labor to build the pyramids was definitely a thing.
And some of the crazy things that happened back then with like the different gods that they believed in, and
yep.
I've always been fascinated with Egypt. I remember I went to an Egyptian museum, and it was really cool. They had a ring there that was in the shape of the Eye of Ra or whatever, the
Eye of Horus.
Yeah, Eye of Horus. That was cool. But it's just weird to think about like what things were like back then. You know, you had fucking rulers who were like 8 years old.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
Who didn't do shit?
how does an 8-year-old run an entire empire? You
They
know,
don't.
wasn't King Tut only like 16 years old?
Yep.
Um, that's fucking crazy because he's the one everyone talks about. Oh, King Tut, and you think of like this old man or something, you know?
They talk about him because the discovery of his tomb was so famous. It was extremely well preserved.
He was 19 years. Oh no, he was 9 years old when he became pharaoh and reigned for approximately 10 years.
Yeah, so he probably had some kind of vizier or regent or something to like his uncle or some shit to rule the country.
Yeah. Have you seen the facial reconstruction of him?
Yes, I have.
It's weird.
It is weird because people looked totally different back then, in addition to probably being shorter than they are now.
Yeah. It's just kind of weird to think about, like, oh, that's so weird looking. Like, his head's weirdly shaped, but that's probably how they looked back then.
I saw the coolest video that that showed something that I hadn't thought of, which is really fucking cool. So people talk about being immortal, the idea of wanting to be immortal, to live forever, to experience human history throughout the ages. One issue with that's kind of interesting is if you're immortal, presumably your appearance doesn't change.
Really?
So if you, well, I mean, say that you're immortal and your appearance doesn't change, right?
Uh-huh.
So you don't age or anything. That's kind of an issue because if you live to be 300,000 years old, imagine how different you'll look from humans in 300,000 years.
Yeah, that is weird.
We would look weird to somebody from back in the day because we'd be so much taller than them. So you can imagine what will happen in 300,000 years when everybody is even taller and probably their heads will be bigger and their bodies will be thinner because they don't need to be as physical.
I know that they predict that our eyes are going to be very, very big.
Yeah. Because we're visual creatures, yeah.
Yes. So that's predicted that we become taller, our eyes become larger.
Yes. The comparison was, imagine if like a Neanderthal came into like modern times, would you attempt to talk to it? I mean, you'd probably be afraid of it. That's kind of how it's going to be.
If we traveled back to Egyptian times, Titans on the West Wall.
Oh no!
Just we're lumbering towards them.
It would be that tall.
No, I know, but it'd be like, oh, it's an abnormal, because there's like Titans in Attack on Titan, and they're only like a couple feet taller.
Yeah.
It's a fucking Titan.
Yeah.
Oh, if anybody gets the chance, go on Google Images and look up King Tut face. It's kind of weird to actually look at the face. I mean, it's weird. There's like some of these are kind of bad, but the ones that they actually put time into, like, it's kind of fucking weird how he looks. Like, that was the king. That's King Tut. That was what Egyptians look like.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. There's a lot of facial reconstructions of famous rulers. I think there's a Cleopatra one too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I did this before. I typed in facial reconstruction history. It's kind of weird. If anybody gets the chance, go on Google Images and type in just facial reconstruction of historic people. Here's King Tut. Here is it doesn't say who that is. What is this? George Washington. George Washington looks like a fucking loser.
Oh no.
Okay, I wish they would tell you, like, in the actual thing. It's just like any picture I click on, it's like, oh, top 10 fucking Minecraft facial reconstructions. Click here to get your subscription now.
This is not George Washington.
It's George. Who it is?
I think this is supposed to be Robespierre or something. Is it?
He looks like he's got. Oh my god, he's got like a disease or something.
It ain't George Washington, that's for sure.
It's George Washington.
No.
Okay, I don't care about the top 10. Just tell me who this is. Top 10 ways you can shave your asshole. Click here to find out. Okay, fine. I'll bite. Okay, who is this? Who the fuck is Ava?
I don't know.
There's her skull. There's the facial reconstruction. There's a guy from 1500s. What the fuck is this? Here's King Tut. He looks like a fucking weirdo. He's wearing a diaper.
Oh.
Yeah, there's Cleopatra.
Yeah. Our ideas of beauty and what a human should look like if they are considered to be beautiful
Well, show me Cleopatra.
changed so much.
Cleopatra.
Even in the 1700s and the 1800s, people who were tanned were considered to be unattractive because they were considered to be outside workers and probably of
Oh
a lower
yeah.
class than people who were pale skinned, who would be
Also,
yeah.
also in like wasn't it like the 1700s, 1800s? If you were fat,
Right,
you,
because you were
you
also probably, rich because you could
mm-hmm,
afford to live that kind of lifestyle as
exactly.
opposed to being muscular, which meant that you worked outside.
Yep. And if you were skinny, you were poor.
Yeah, that too.
Here's Cleopatra. She's pretty cute. I'd take her like to a fucking movie.
I'm sure she'd be completely blown away by the existence of movies.
I'd be like, "Hey, girl, that would be my ticket." She'd be like, "Where the fuck am I?" I'd be like, "Hey, yo, check this out. Take her to a movie."
Yeah.
Instantly fall in love with me there. I'm married to Cleopatra.
Think about all of the nuance that people from history wouldn't understand about today's society. Like, not only is it's not just smartphones, it's not just the internet. It's like, think about memes and how specific they are. How ridiculously specific of a type of humor just that is. And that's just one thing. There are thousands and thousands of tiny little things that we understand that would be completely unknown, completely different language. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Isn't there let me see if I can look up the actual ancient Egyptian joke.
Oh no.
They had a joke on the wall. The world's oldest jokes revealed.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was like a fart joke.
Oh no. Yeah, we talked about this, about fart
We
jokes and poop jokes and how
Oh yeah.
prevalent they were in history.
The world's oldest surviving joke is essentially a fart gag.
Oh no.
3,000-year-old Sumerian proverb from ancient Babylonia reads, "Something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap." What?
Oh no.
Oh man. No, I think I'm trying to find the Egyptian one. There was one on the like an Egyptian wall, and it was just like a fart joke or like a ass joke
A
or
friend of mine
something.
texted me and said in regards to King Tut looking weird, inbreeding. That's definitely true.
Oh yeah, that was an issue.
Royalty, inbreeding and royalty basically fucked over a lot of royal families, including the English royal family.
You know what's funny? Here's the whole reason why inbreeding causes deformities.
Yeah.
It's because when you breed with your sibling or a family member, you are essentially when you were born, you got the dominant things, right? You got the how do I put this? You had the dominant traits from your parents, right?
Some of them, yeah. Depending
Well,
on what it was.
most of them
Yeah.
were, you got the dominant trait
Yeah.
between the two of them. Well, if you mate with your sister, she also has the dominant traits, which dominant traits aren't always good.
Right.
So you're mating two people who have the same dominant traits, and then those dominant traits will like allow other dominant traits to be present, and then you start having multiple fingers. You start, yeah.
Multiple fingers. I don't know if I'd go that
It's
far.
I know. I'm just saying. I saw a picture. It was like an Xbox controller, and it had like 30 fucking buttons on it.
Yeah.
And some guy commented, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to fuck my cousin so my kids can have enough fingers to play with this controller."
The breeding between first cousins is actually quite common even nowadays, believe it or not.
It's
It's
weird.
just in America that it's kind of a thing that's really taboo, and obviously in a lot of Western cultures, but it's actually quite common, which is strange to me.
It's very strange. Yo, Richard the Third looks like fucking Lord Farquaad.
Oh, is that the guy that yeah, he was Richard
Lord Farquaad.
Richard the Third, is this the guy? Oh yeah, he does look like there's another king. He's become a meme, of course, and I can't remember his name, but basically he was a result of severe inbreeding, and he was kind of slow and not a popular ruler, obviously, and other people kind of ruled for him in his stead. I can't remember what his name is.
Well, shit. I don't know, but yeah, the whole inbreeding thing was weird. Or the whole going back to like the 1500s, the whole, kings and queens, medieval ages
Yeah.
of just parents choosing who their kid's gonna marry, forcing them to marry
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Arranged
oh,
marriages for political ends.
you're gonna you're gonna marry this ugly fucker because his family's got money. Oh yes, I do. It was just weird to think about. Which let's talk about medieval times because those are some pretty fucking gruesome.
Medieval times, also known as the Dark Ages, which existed from pretty much the fall of the Roman Empire as we knew it until roughly, I'd say, what, like the 1400s or so, the Renaissance era.
It was a
Part
fucked
of the
up
reason
time.
it was called the Dark Ages was because all of the advancements that had been discovered, the interest in mathematics and science of the Greek and ancient Greece and ancient Rome kind of stopped being a thing. Rome fell. A lot of the history of it was kind of destroyed, and it gave way to the rise of Germanic and Anglo-Saxon cultures in England and Germany and France, which was known as Gaul. Um, so yeah, it was a lot of like the Black Plague happened in the 1300s, which wiped out about a
Yep.
third of the population of the planet, which is kind of nuts.
It was another thing is some of the fucking medieval torture devices
Yep.
are fucking horrific.
Yeah, yeah.
Here we
The
go talking
Iron
about.
Maiden, which a band is named after. Very good band.
Oh, wasn't the Iron Maiden that was the coffin with the spikes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although
Another
actual evidence of that being used as a torture weapon is kind of, they're not sure if it was actually used or if it was just a thing that they talked about.
I don't see it being a real torch weapon. I see it being as a fucking execution
Yeah,
box.
it kind of seems a little bit difficult to to
Like, I don't fucking
like
know.
what is
Like
the point of this thing?
it would kill you instantly
Yeah,
with all those fucking spikes.
yeah.
The thing that like keeps me awake at night is like the what was it the bronze bull?
Oh
I think
no.
it was called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was for those of you who don't, it was a bronze bull. Like it was shaped like a bull, and they would put you inside of it. They
Yeah,
would lock you in there, then you'd be naked in there as well,
yeah,
and they would light a fire under it.
yeah.
And it would basically the metal would just get so hot you would start, and you can't die quickly from that.
Nope.
Your skin will just start being roasted. I mean, hopefully you would have passed out from the pain. But there are some fucked up torture devices.
Yeah.
Like you think what like looking at the torture devices we have today are nothing compared to what they were back then. Like today we have what?
Waterboarding is kind of the one that people tend to go to.
Waterboarding, that's about it. Maybe some electricity.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh no, it's not the bronze bowl, it's the brazen bowl.
Yeah, I think that wasn't that feature. What movie was it? Clash of the Titans or Wrath of the Titans or the Immortals or some movie like that had that in it.
Yeah.
I
A solid
remember.
piece of brass was cast with a door on the side
Yeah,
that could be opened and latched. The victim would be placed inside the bowl and set a fire underneath it until the metal became literally yellow. As it was heated, the victim would then be slowly roasted to death. All while screaming in agonizing pain, the bull would purposely designed to amplify these screams
Oh.
and make them sound like the bellowing of a bull.
well, a latched brass door can't be that structurally sound. Brass is kind of a soft metal. You probably
Yeah.
kick at that a bunch. Probably be your best bet.
Another torture device from that era was I forgot what it was called, but basically what they would do is they would balance you on top of a pyramid,
Uh huh.
and they would put the point of the pyramid in your butt.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
They would tie weights to your feet,
Right.
and eventually they kept adding more and more weight
Uh-huh.
until it would slowly just rip you in half.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
I'm
it's like a
looking-
wedge, like a pointed wedge or whatever.
oh, it's called the Judas cradle.
ah.
Closely related to impalement, this gruesome punishment entailed having the victim sit on the pyramid-shaped cradle, after which they would be forced down on it by ropes with the intent of stretching the victim's orifice over a long period of time,
Ugh.
slowly impaling them. Eesh.
Damn.
That's fucked, man. Here's
Yeah.
the Iron Maiden. This torture device consisted of an iron cabinet
Cannot
with
play
hinges.
with men. I
Front
can't
and
help
side
it. They're so
covered
good.
interior. Once inside its frame, the victim would be unable to move due to the great number of steel spikes impaling them from every direction.
Wow, no shit.
The interrogator would scream questions at the victim while poking them with jagged edges.
What?
Just poke them.
I can't hear you. God, that's dumb.
Ooh, this is one that people probably have seen in video games or movies.
Yeah.
Coffin torture. They hang you in the city street, but in a box, like a cage.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That has to suck.
There are cages hanging from a church in Germany. A lot of people think that they're the originals, but they're actually reconstructions.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I keep forgetting what the name of the church
How is the guillotine a torture device?
Define
You're fucking
torture.
Dead.
I mean, I suppose if the blade is really dull or something.
Pull it again.
The guillotine was the execution method of choice in the French Revolution because it allowed for very publicized executions of figures.
Yes. You know what's funny is there was a doctor who wanted to know how long you are conscious after your head gets chopped off.
Right.
So he went to somebody, someone who was being guillotined, and he told the person to try to make facial expressions as much as they could for as long as they could after their head came off.
Right.
So he did it, and as soon as the guy's head got chopped off, he ran up to the basket and he picked up the head and he looked at it, and the thing was looking right at him and looking left and right, up, down.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucking weird because your head can survive without your body for a little bit because your head's the whole thing running everything.
Yeah.
You cut off the body,
There was a chicken that survived, I think, with only its brainstem intact.
Jesus.
It actually only died because it choked on like a corn kernel. But that is a chicken, obviously less advanced than a human. So physiology being the way that it is.
Well, yeah, but the
humans
humans
can't survive like that.
Like, I'm sure if let me try to see, if you rip the memory, or like what's the hard drive, rip the hard drive out of a computer.
Yeah.
The hard drive will eventually stop working and won't be on, but the information's still in there, right?
Are you talking about RAM?
No, like everything that holds all the memory.
You mean like all the storage and stuff? If you
Yeah.
remove a hard drive from a computer, that's still in there.
Well, no, I'm saying like, okay, so the computer's on, right?
Yeah.
The
This
power.
is my field, by the way, people. So I know.
Okay, so here, let me try to construct this sentence.
Okay.
The computer's on.
Yes.
Say the battery is your heart. The brain is the
Okay.
hard drive holding all the information.
Sure.
You rip the brain out.
Yes.
The brain is still going to work, but it's not going to be on, So you cut
Sure.
the head off of somebody, you basically cut the power line, and it's running on the little bit of power that it has left in its head, and then eventually turns off. But the memories are still in there.
If you pull a hard drive out of a computer while it's on, I suppose the things that will already have been loaded into RAM will continue to exist on the screen. It just won't be
Okay,
able
I was
to...
just trying to fucking
All right.
shut up. I was just trying to fucking make a.
Fair
Basically,
enough.
Cut someone's head. If you get your head cut off, people, you can know what's going on. You can look around for like another 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That gotta hurt, man. Like your head hitting the ground, though.
I suppose.
feel-
Would you feel it though? I mean, I suppose you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
Kind of weird.
This one's fucking gruesome. Rat
The
torture.
loss of blood pressure would pretty much almost instantaneously render you unconscious. So you probably would be able to make movements, but I'm not sure you'd be aware of them.
Yeah, that's true. Rat torture. Putting rats in a box, putting the
that's
box on
awful.
your stomach, and then heating the top of the box.
That's a popular one for movies.
Yeah.
I've seen that in at least like 3 movies.
Having the rats.
Rats will chew through steel pipes if they need to.
It's fucked up. I hate rats.
You don't hate rats. You had 2 rats.
Oh, I miss them dearly.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. They rode around on my shoulders when I go over to his apartment. It was so cute. They make these little noises like... What the fuck are we talking about? This is supposed to be about history. God damn
The
it.
Spanish donkey.
We suck.
Oh man. Ooh. One more torture device.
Oh, God.
The horses. They tie you to horses.
Yeah, and pull you apart.
That's fucked. Anyway, let's go back to our history talk.
God damn it.
People are like leaving, throwing up. What's wrong with these people?
I mean, it's a little fascinating. There's morbid fascination, which we've talked about. It's kind of a thing.
Chastity belts back in those days, medieval times,
God damn
were
it.
just fucking openings with barbed teeth. Go ahead, stick it in, see what happens. I want to talk about let's talk about the plague, Black Plague.
The Black Plague, otherwise known as the bubonic plague, which was presumably originated by disease-carrying rats, which would carry fleas, I think. Was that it?
Yes, which, for the record, people, that is why rats are seen as unsanitary nowadays. That is why everybody is
it's not
afraid
inaccurate.
Well, no, like, okay, you look at back in, probably before that time, they would just see rats as like animals, like normal animals. But once they started realizing that these rats were carrying diseases and getting people killed, they were more feared. You'd see a rat and, a rat,
They used to think that what was it, poppies in water would fend off the plague. They had no goddamn idea about blood or bloodborne diseases. Like, public sanitation wasn't even a thing. They didn't understand that.
Well, going back to the whole rat thing, they made a perfect reference to that in Inglourious Bastards. He goes, if a rat were he's referring to
the
Jews, saying that rats are like Jews.
There's a character named Hans Landa who's called, for context for people who haven't seen this, a character who is basically a Nazi, and he's known as the Jew Hunter. If you guys haven't seen that movie, fucking watch that movie.
That's my all-time favorite movie.
But anyway.
But he says he's talking to somebody who's hiding Jews in his house.
Yeah.
And he's questioning him, and he goes, do you know why I compare Jews to rats? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, if a rat were to walk in here right now, would you greet it with hostility? And the guy's like, well, yeah, I suppose I would. And he goes, but why? The rat hasn't done anything to you. The guy goes, well, rats carry diseases. And he goes, but any disease a rat could carry, a squirrel could also carry.
Yeah.
Any other rodent, and besides the bushy tail, they kind of look alike, don't you think? Yeah. He goes, well, yeah, I suppose. And he's like, so, if a rat walked in here right now, why, basically he's getting at, he goes, you don't know why you don't like them, you just know that you find them repulsive. Which
is kind of an interesting thing about his character, because he is a character who is called the Jew Hunter. I've seen tons of analyses of his character. He who claims to hate Jews and claims to compare them to rats and claims to be proud of his title of the Jew Hunter, later in the movie doesn't seem to care too much about any of that. Let's
not spoil anything.
Yeah, right. But it's just kind of a teaser as to the kind of psychological stuff that's going on in that movie. Watch that movie.
Yeah, but going back to the bubonic plague, I find that era very fascinating because the amount of, I want to say, like you were saying, the lack of knowledge on what the hell was going on. How many people died? It was like a quarter of the world, wasn't it?
The estimates are kind of varied because it's kind of hard to say, but I think about a third is generally the number that people go with.
Sounds about right.
A third of the population of Europe, where it was concentrated, because there were places.
People.
Yeah, there were places in like Arabia where it had happened either before or after, where it wasn't really a part of that death toll.
Oh, that's weird. I mean, there's because you know how I am with ghosts and like haunted shit. There's one place I want to visit before I die, and that's Poveglia. Have you ever heard of that place?
I don't think so.
I forgot where it's located, and I don't even know how to fucking spell it. Poveglia, yeah, Poveglia Island. It's off the coast of Italy, northern Italy.
Sure.
It's creepy as hell there because it's an abandoned place, and all that's on it is an old mental hospital.
Yeah.
What happened back in the Black Plague era is they would take people who were disease-ridden, and they would dump them on the island. It was pretty much a quarantine island.
Yeah.
Just throw them on the island. All right, there you go. You have to stay here. And they would also dump bodies there as well, dispose of bodies. They would just
Sure.
dump them. So after time passed, the Black Plague was over and everything. They came and they built a psychiatric hospital, a fucking nut house on top of it.
Yeah.
All the bodies, they just built over the bodies. And it's supposed to be this super fucking haunted place because, they would perform lobotomies on the patients in there. They would torture patients. It was just a huge, disgusting thing until it eventually got shut down and the island was just abandoned. So, like, if you go there today, the building is still there. The hospital's still there. It's just, overgrown. There's trees growing inside the building. It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Look it up if you get the chance. It's Poveglia, Poveglia Island.
Yeah. Abandoned places are pretty fantastic and pretty fascinating in general.
Yeah, I like going to old fucking abandoned places because, like, even in this place, Poveglia, there's like rooms with, doctor tables still in them, and just shit left where it was left when the place got abandoned. I wonder, when did that place get shut down? Let me look up here. Shut down. That's another fucked up part about history is how they treated crazy people.
Yeah.
If you were crazy, you were done for.
Yep, pretty much.
They would just lock you away and see ya. Good luck. Or they would fucking give you lobotomies.
Yeah, which was fucked up, and basically the destruction of the frontal lobe of the brain through various methods, usually a tool similar to an ice pick up through the nose, which would break that part of the bone. It was barbaric, and it was used as an attempt to calm manic behavior because it would basically change people's personalities completely, usually make them docile or...
It would completely obliterate your personality.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have one. You would be a robot.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. In 1922, the island became home to a mental hospital where a doctor allegedly experimented on patients with crude lobotomies. He later threw himself from the hospital tower after claiming he had been driven mad by ghosts.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
I mean, think about how many dead people were on that island.
Oh, yeah.
From the plague.
Yeah.
I mean, you can walk and just find bones, just laying around.
Do you want to talk about paranormal shit next podcast?
No, actually, that's what we're kind of going to be doing. Next podcast, we're going to be talking about monsters and paranormal events, and shit like that. Is there anything else we want to? Well, I still kind of want to go into the Black Plague because one thing that always creeps me out is those plague masks.
Oh yeah.
Plague doctor masks. For those of you who don't know why or what they were for, I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about. It looks like a crow or a bird.
Yeah.
It's got the long white snout and it's a white mask, and they would wear hoods. Mm-hmm. That's a doctor's mask. They would use that. They would fill it with herbs and quote unquote, as Doug was saying, like plague deterrents.
It was a rudimentary gas mask, if you will, despite not really functioning as a sealant to the outside air.
The long snout just basically, was just stuffed with stuff that would prevent the plague.
Things that they thought drove away the plague, which of course did nothing.
Oh, and I remember that when they used to drop people off on Poveglia Island, they would have a boat. There'd be like maybe 5 people in the boat, one of which would be a plague doctor, and he would have that mask on. And just imagine being rowed to that island with that dude just looking at you the whole time. Like, can you like take the mask off and just cover your mouth or something? Like, I don't want to look at you.
Right.
We had some. I mean, I don't know. Like during times back then, like certain things weren't creepy, but then we look at it from our perspective now, and we find them creepy. Like, do you ever look at like Halloween costumes from the 40s?
No, I haven't seen them.
Just like kids with sacks over their heads. Let me see. Halloween 1940s. I think maybe. Yeah. Maybe not. Oh yeah. Okay. So here we go. Halloween 1940s. There's just like kids with sacks. Basically, they're just really uncanny.
Yeah.
Compared to people dressing up as like fucking Superman and shit nowadays. It would just be really poorly made masks, and it was just really fucking creepy. Like they knew how to do Halloween back then.
You're right.
Oh, scary shit. That's
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about next podcast. You want to start wrapping this one up?
Yeah, I am going to start wrapping it up right now.
All right. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Next podcast, as I said, will be on what did you call it? Scary shit.
Yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in. We're definitely going to have another history one because there's obviously we can go over a lot of stuff we wanted to this podcast. We just kind of rambled.
Really broad. We could talk about it forever.
So the next or not the next, but in the future, we'll have a podcast of us going into, like, I'm talking ancient times, like dinosaurs,
Yeah.
cavemen, shit like that. So anything you want to say, Doug?
Not really. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.